The FIA usually stays out of F1 and whatever goes down on the tracks, but it looks like they're getting more and more involved with the rules that they just dropped for the 2023 season. In this video, we'll talk about all the changes the FIA plans to make to F1 and what kind of impact that'll have on the whole game next year. First off, what exactly went down? It all started with porpoising, which is basically an aerodynamic way of setting up the track to make the cars go faster. The 2022 season was a nightmare, with the roads being incredibly bumpy, especially at Mercedes W13 when Hamilton couldn't even get out of his car in Azerbaijan. So at this point, some teams were pissed and wanted the FIA to do something about the issue, especially Toto Wolff of Mercedes. Red Bull and Ferrari, though, were pretty sure that Mercedes was only doing this because they messed up themselves. So you'll recall that they decided to get TD039 out there, which was supposed to fix the issue, but it didn't really work. Plus, there was still a lot of fighting going on about how this should be completely revised by the next season. Many teams weren't even considering changing the rules for the current season because it was already pretty late. And at the same time, Mercedes claimed that their drivers could get brain damage from all that bouncing, which is a bit extreme if you ask us. Most they might get is a little dizzy. Up next, big changes made by FIA. For the first time, the FIA got seriously involved with F1. They introduced a lot of new rules to the game that might change it in a major way next year. They're bringing in 4 different ways to ensure the bouncing problem doesn't happen again. First, they will raise the edges of the floor by 25 millimeters. Why? So that the teams will have a harder time physically sealing the back half of the Venturi tunnel against the outside air pressure if the floor is raised. Currently, increasing the underbody downforce in this manner is doable, but it comes with the risk of slowing the airflow and starting the porpoising problem, which is literally the reason why everyone's upset. Then they're going to raise the diffuser throat, which will basically make it easier for the underside of the car to handle sudden changes in ride height. That's because the one point in the tunnel that's the tightest is the throat, which you can blame for all the pressure changes. They're also planning on making some pretty big changes to how much the floor can flex laterally. That'll prevent the outer edges of it from sealing to the underbody of a car. Finally, they'll throw in more accurate sensors for vertical accelerations. From Spa on, the sensors that were originally put in to record the impact of an accident measured how fast the cars were moving up and down. What does that mean? Basically, for the rest of this season, these sensors did double duty, but in 2023, there will be more accurate sensors that can even measure the vertical bouncing forces. Okay, so what's the controversy then? Looks like these changes are already getting a lot of pushback from teams that don't like how expensive they are. They also think they aren't needed because the porpoising problem seems to be getting better in recent races, right? Well, not exactly. From what we've seen so far, Ferrari, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, Haas, and Williams are part of a core group of teams that are pushing for an alternative solution against the FIA. They're basically questioning whether or not the safety issue should be the reason such major changes are made. Let's be real, the FIA doesn't really need the team's approval because they have the authority to make whatever changes they want if it's for safety reasons. Finally, Ferrari might not sit back and let this happen. If these rules do go through, there's one team that'll be seriously pissed. Binotto just doesn't get why porpoising needs to be fixed because he doesn't think it's that big of a problem. In his opinion, the safety issue isn't as big of a deal as everyone's made it out to be, and he thinks it's pretty late to make a big change when everyone's clearly used to the bouncing at this point. He said Ferrari would push really hard to make sure that the FIA rules don't go into effect, but the whole thing is mostly confirmed for now. They've already sent the new rules to the World Motor Support Council, and the rule changes are still pending approval. But who knows, maybe Ferrari and Red Bull will somehow manage to get these changes out of the picture. The FIA might have a lot of power, but if all 8 teams that aren't really okay with the changes band together, they could easily push for a supermajority rule change. Sure, they might not get rid of it completely, but there are better chances of getting a compromise over the floor raise thing. Ultimately though, they're still going to have to accept some minor changes like a 10mm floor raise, and that's only if it works out in their favor. Here's some other related news you might have missed out on. First off, Binotto still got faith in his F1 strategy. Some people just stay strong no matter what, and Mattia Binotto's one of them. You'd think he would have learned by now that his strategy for Ferrari's probably not the best, but this man just keeps on going. He does think that Ferrari can do better, and lessons have been taken on board, especially from Monaco. And you know about the systems the team needs in place to make better informed calls on the pit wall. Like, we don't know about you, but we've really seen them struggle at pit stop changes. Sure, Binotto agrees that they could do better, but he doesn't think they need to change their strategy completely. Like, he claims that it's because of this strategy that they've sometimes managed to beat Red Bull because of their tire calls. In an interview, he said it isn't possible for the team to be perfect because no one can be perfect, but he's still willing to improve on some important areas like power unit, aero, and chassis. And maybe he might consider switching up the strategy just a little bit in the future, but he doesn't think it's like a weakness or anything the way that everyone keeps saying it is. He wants us to look at the whole strategy instead of how it played out after the race. For him, it's about making the right call at the right time, depending on whatever they had available. And of course, it can't be easy for everyone at the pit wall to make quick decisions all the time. You really have to be on your toes. And it's F1. Like, come on. There are times when you think a decision's not going to work out, and you think they should have known that, but at the time, they made it because the situation was different. It's not just possible, according to Binotto, for one team to judge another's strategy, especially Ferrari's decision to keep Leclerc out at the Belgian Grand Prix. Secondly, Sainz explains his reluctance to drive historic F1 cars. We've already seen Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc this season do demonstration runs in historic Formula One cars this season, but don't expect Carlos Sainz to be next, as the Ferrari driver says he is on the fence about whether or not he would ever drive a historic car again. Sebastian Vettel drove Nigel Mansell's championship-winning 1992 Williams FW14B at the British Grand Prix in July, while Sainz's Ferrari teammate Leclerc crashed three-time world champion Niki Lauda's Ferrari 312B3 into a barrier at a demonstration in Monaco. That was embarrassing for Leclerc. Even though it wasn't Leclerc's fault because the problem was with the brakes, Sainz is still not sure if he's willing to take that kind of risk anymore. In a recent interview, he revealed that he had the chance to drive an old Ferrari before. It always shows you what the sport was like a long time ago. He added that he's confused about it because why would he take the chance and end up the same as Charles Leclerc in Monaco? He added that he wouldn't do that, possibly as he has a chance to win the Ferrari championship right now. Finally, Lewis Hamilton names his toughest Formula One rival. Hamilton and Fernando Alonso have shined through glittering careers with a combined 9 titles and 135 wins from 650 starts, while their journeys also intertwined during an infamously combative year as McLaren teammates in 2007. Though that rivalry got so intense that Alonso would leave the team after one season, their respect for each other grew with every passing year. Hamilton, 37, picked out Alonso, 41, as his most talented competitor. Ahead of his 300th race last month in France, he recalled being alongside Alonso when he was 22 and had recently started racing. He continued by mentioning how mentally young he was and how difficult it was to go against a great like Fernando. Lewis then declared his former teammate as his toughest opponent in terms of pure pace and skill. And since Hamilton's comments, Alonso has secured his F1 future for more seasons with a surprise switch from Alpine to Aston Martin 2023, the infamous silly season. That's all for this video. What are your thoughts on F1's technical directive for 2023? Do you think the new rules might eliminate porpoising altogether? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content in the future. Thanks for watching. See you next time.